Hello, I'm Richie Boone, sports news editor of National World, and my team and I want to share our predictions for the new Premier League season with you. We'll share who we think will be crowned champions, make the top four, and fight it out to avoid the drop. Let us know who you agree or disagree with. Let's start with who the National World team thinks will be relegated this season.
The Premier League relegation battle should be an interesting one this year. I think looking at the teams and how they've recruited, Bournemouth look most likely to finish bottom. I just don't feel like they've strengthened enough. Fulham, a team famous for yo-yoing between the Premier League and the Championship, they have made signings, but I'm not convinced by them. I would expect them to be going down again. And as for the last spot, I'll probably have to give that to Brentford. I think losing Christian Eriksen is going to be big for them. He was a big part of keeping them up in the latter half of last season, and without him they could be in real danger this year. In terms of Leeds United, I think they'll probably be safe. They've lost Calvin Phillips and Rafinha, but they've brought in lots of new signings and overall look stronger. And Everton could be in trouble if they start slowly. That could cause them problems, and equally that could cause problems for Southampton and Brighton. But at the moment my bottom three are Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford.
I'm gone with Brighton, who I think there's quite a few people who think they'll do well because of how they've done this season, but I just can't see it happening. They've lost Basuma, who's a key player, and they could still lose Cucurella as well if he goes to City. They're two key players, and they haven't brought in anyone of note that could improve the chances in the league yet. And they haven't replaced Basuma either. So I can't see it going as well for them, even though they did do well last season. I think the only reason they've done okay is because of Potter, but I think that's going to kind of run out eventually, the luck. Then Fulham for me, they've done it before, gone up and then come straight back down again. I don't think Mitrovic is Premier League level. I think we've seen that he's smashed it in the Championship and then struggled. Andres Pereira, I don't think he'll do that well either. I think they'll put up a fight. They won't be terrible, but they're just not going to be that level good enough to stay around for another season. And then for me, bottom is Bournemouth. I think that's the most obvious one. I think Championship standard team. They could have easily missed out on promotion last season. They didn't do as well as they should have.
The Premier League relegation battle for me looks to be between Southampton, Leeds and Nottingham Forest. Saints have received limited funding for this transfer season and have been unable to significantly boost their squad, and similarly Leeds have lost two of their most important playmakers in Rafinha and Calvin Phillips. Notts Forest are only recently promoted and have bought several new players to help strengthen their squad. However, as we saw with Watford last season, this could backfire if Steve Cooper is unable to get the squad to gel together in time.
So first up, I'm going to say Fulham. They absolutely smashed it in the Championship last season, breaking all manner of records. But we've been here before, and I think history is going to repeat itself. They're a bit of a yo-yo club, and I think they're doomed for another relegation. I'm also going to say Bournemouth, simply because they've not done enough in the transfer market for me to kind of convince that they're capable of competing. And I also think Southampton will be in the bottom three. They ended last season pretty poorly, winning just one of the last 12. Their pre-season has been poor, and I think a bit like Burnley last season, they're overdue a relegation after riding their luck for a good few seasons now. Now let's predict who the top four will be.
Really, really tight looking contest for the top four this year. Assuming Man City and Liverpool are going to take the first two spots, I think it could be any four of Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal and Man U realistically competing for third and fourth place. Spurs perhaps are best placed to do that. They've kept the bulk of their squad from last season and they've added quite a few new players, but they rely quite a lot on the goals from Harry Kane, and in the past those have dried up. If that happens again, they could be in big trouble. Chelsea's an interesting one. They still have quite a lot of business to do, and although I do expect them to get those deals over the line, right now they do look a lot weaker than they were last season. But they do have possibly one of the best managers in the world at the moment in Thomas Tuchel. So I do realistically think Chelsea will be the team that finishes third. Then of course there's Arsenal and Manchester United. Manchester United, like Chelsea, still have a lot of business to do in this transfer window, particularly getting another midfielder in. Erik ten Hag, it's his first season, he's trying to put his mark on the team. And of course there's a cloud hanging over the future of Cristiano Ronaldo. So it is hard to see Man U getting into the top four at this moment in time. As for Arsenal, I think they are improving under Mikel Arteta, and I think they'll have a real go at it. Bringing in Gabriel Jesus, getting a recognised number 9 feels like a great bit of business, and right now I actually think I would back them over Spurs. So my top 4 is Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal.
With Manchester City as the reigning champions, there is no doubt they'll be in the top 4, and I see them joined by their Mancunian rivals and Tottenham Hotspurs. With a new manager and a complete overhaul in their players, United will most definitely be desperate to return to European football. Spurs have added 6 new players to their first team squad already, including Ivan Perisic, and after a turbulent adjustment period when Antonio Conte first came in, they are now likely to go from strength to strength.
I'm saying Liverpool after City. I think they won't get too close, but they'll have a good season. I think they're still guaranteed for second. I think it'll still be between them two. Man is a huge loss, but I think Darwin Núñez will get enough goals to kind of show his worth. But I think they'll also be relying on Luis Diaz as well. I think he'll have a really good season. He showed so much potential last season. He was just a bit raw, but I think once he's had pre-season and everything, he'll be brilliant. And I also think Salah's had a really good pre-season. He's looked pretty impressive, so he'll do his usual thing. And yeah, I don't think the other teams have done enough to overtake them in the transfer window. I think it'll take that a couple more seasons for that to happen. But Tottenham, third for me. I think that's pretty easy. They brought in some really good players like Perisic, Basuma, Richarlison. They're really good signings, and then I think they're going to look a lot stronger. So I think they're going to do really well. I think Antonio Conte will be the difference in catapulting them up into that kind of bracket, rather than fighting for Champions League. So yeah, I think they'll do really well. And then for fourth place for me, it's between Arsenal and Chelsea. But I've gone for Arsenal. I think they'll do it this season. I don't think they'll buckle under the pressure much. Got a really good young team, but I think Gabriel Jesus will be the one that makes the difference for them. They didn't really have that goal scoring striker at the end of last season. I think Jesus will be on fire. I think he'll do really well.
So my top 4, excluding the champions, is Liverpool, Spurs and Arsenal. Liverpool's a bit of an obvious one. To put it simply, they're just an absolute machine and a cut above most teams in the division. Spurs, they had a great transfer window so far, probably the best in the division, and they've kept hold of Harry Kane as well. Antonio Conte's had a bit of time there. He's got the players he wants, so he can get them playing the way he wants as well. So I think Spurs are going to have a good season. A similar story with Arsenal. They've made some good signings. They're heading in the right direction, despite missing out on the top 4 last season. I think it'll be close, but I think they'll just squeeze in. Now, the 2 big names I've missed there, obviously, are Chelsea and Man United. Chelsea are all over the shop in the transfer window at the moment. They've lost some really good players, and the new owners are struggling to buy any new ones. I just don't think they're going to be competing for the top 4 this season. Man United, I think they are going to improve under Erik ten Hag. They're not enough to finish in the top 4. Now, finally, who's going to win the Premier League?
Just like most football fans, I can't really see anyone winning the Premier League other than Man City. I think they were absolutely unbelievable last year, and even though Liverpool came close, or what seemed like came close, I don't think City were ever going to slip up, and I just think this year they're guaranteed to be even stronger. Erling Haaland's easily going to be the difference for them. I think he'll get 20 plus goals. He'll improve the chances of the Champions League, but he'll also play a huge role in the Premier League. So yeah, I think they're guaranteed for the title.
Manchester City are tipped to win the Prem, but I see them as focusing much more heavily on the Champions League. This could give Liverpool the opportunity to swoop in and take what they've been hoping for last season. After strong performances last year, Jurgen Klopp and his squad will be desperate to win those 2 trophies that they missed out on last year.
No points for originality when it comes to the title race. It's hard to see past Manchester City, and you back them to get another title under Pep Guardiola. They already had the best squad in the league. They've added depth in midfield with Calvin Phillips, and of course the one thing that you could have said was missing from that team last year was an out-and-out goal-scoring number 9, and they've gone out and signed probably one of the best, if not the best in the world, in Erling Haaland. Yes, Liverpool have gone out and gotten Darwin Núñez. That almost felt reactionary to City getting Haaland, and I think Liverpool will put up a really good challenge this year, but it's just impossible to see past Man City. So for me, Man City take the title again this season.
So my prediction for the Premier League winners this year, no surprises, Manchester City. They've won 4 of the last league titles and they're just a relentless force to be reckoned with. It's going to be a strange season with the World Cup, breaking it up in November. And there's going to be a lot of exhausted players coming back after Christmas. So what it's all going to come down to is who's got the best squad. Man City have spent an absolute fortune bulking theirs up in recent years, and no one in the Premier League is close to that. So for that reason, I think we're going to pit Liverpool to the post once again. Let us know whose prediction you agree with by reaching out to us on Twitter, Facebook, and our comment section. And visit nationalworld.com, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for the latest sports news throughout the season.